This video is called Fighting for Honor versus No Honor Amongst Thieves. First, let's look at what humanity is. I can't overkill this point enough because people just don't get it. Love is what made humanity stand up in the martial art manner in Africa. Okay? Everything should be seen relative to that. This is a point of reference. Man established himself as the king of this world, so to speak, and he stood up. Anyone can make a small group of people and call themselves the king. The King of Kings was established as Horus, the archetype of Pharaoh, and it's obvious why. The saying, the heat of passion, warming up, right? Warm up exercises, right? Warming up to you. These things are connected, right? She's hot versus she's cool. Which one's preferable in a mate? When we look at when people spread out, who went where and why, and what form did they take? You had the Neanderthals, who mixed with the Northern Europeans especially. Neanderthal is a German word. They also mixed with the English and the French. Van Damme is impressed upon fools as some kind of martial art icon. Okay, and he's associated with France, one way or another. So you have the Neanderthal brute force. What weapons did they use? Brute force weapons. The fencing weapons came later. You have the terrain. You look at, for example, the Viking swords, right? The broadswords, the claymores of the English, and so on and so forth. The battle axe, the small axe, okay? The club, okay? These are brute force weapons. So how can these people magically, after separating themselves from the pressure cooker in the cradle of civilization, North Africa and the Middle East, right? In the southern Mediterranean basin, how can they magically evolve these martial art traits better than everyone else? Doesn't make any sense, right? So you're a fool if you look to the white man or anyone who's not black for the top martial artist. It's foolish, okay? It's also equally as foolish as to let that throw you off. You're saying, well, that's not my race, so I'm not going to listen to him. When you go to the doctor, do you say that doctor is not my race, so I'm not going to let him save my life because I don't want my kid to think of him as a hero? That's stupid, right? How much more when it comes to connecting your children to God? It's insane. Right? Because I don't want people to look at this guy who's not my race, or not from my culture, not from my political party, as a hero. I'm going to deny my family the Spirit of God, the truth, their identity, right? Identity, EA, Inky, right? Their idea is the deity of craft, magic, mischief, immoral reproduction from Sumer, which ultimately led to magic spells like that word I just described. Where did writing come from? How did it spread? Why did it spread? For the purpose of control, Hammurabi's Code, and so on. Anyway, so what women are basically saying to me, and listen carefully, is you can't truly be alive. Yes, it is not fair, and no, we don't care enough to submit to you. They say you can't truly be alive because love and life are connected. It's connected to humanity. Your love, true love, which is that martial arts spirit that comes from the martial art order that got everyone to stand up. Everyone was basically animals, and then some group of people or an individual got them all to stand up and emphasize themselves. He civilized them. It was the martial art order that civilized man through love, through a higher sense of righteousness, and the resulting martial art activity, which quickly became outmaneuvering somebody and striking them effectively. We see this in nature. Animals that bite the neck, snakes that deliver the poison. They master the art of killing effectively. Okay. And of this art, it was first the leopard and then Horus, who of the leopard groups of people who take on a more effective martial art form, the surgical striker, the fastest and surgical striker who maneuvers with his leopard body, was victorious. He defined the martial art archetype. Of course, the West goes in a scientific direction as a result. They refuse to bow. The East refuses to bow. The whole entire world including Africans themselves, other African groups, refused to bow. This group of people went to the heart of Africa. Ari, Biafra, Era. They basically are telling me, you can't truly be alive. We will not accept your true definition of love. Okay? Accept the rights, ill-gotten gains, and their ideas of second-class citizenship and some kind of bootlicker slaves version of affection that we allow you to have after we allow you to sustain yourself after you kiss our ass, or accept a dick in the ass or some unattractive, undesirable female that gets passed around like a blunt in some kind of liberal, hippie, commie, free love, Luciferian way. Very obvious. What they're saying is you can't truly be alive. You can't have love. Yes, it is not fair, and no, we do not care enough to submit to you, which is the only way to truly have love. You think the women did not submit to the martial artists that got man to stand up and then procreated their genes? One way to look at it is I come from a long line of good people's gene expression, RNA, patriarchal, man to man, man to son, father to son line. They come from a long line of rebellion as gene expression, rebellion as brain function. And that again goes back to the cerebellum, the hippocampus, the striatum, the amygdala, and the thalamus. So they basically say, you are a scrub-ass loser. Go ahead and ask the clan for a date if you don't want to take a dick in the ass or settle for an undesirable female or one who is less attracted to us that won't submit to you. On top of that, you have to adapt to our cultures which are in rebellion against God. Every path you take elevates one of the big three families, one of the big three races, one of the big three racist families who are the top of their racial structures: the white, the Jew, and the Asian. Cursed are those families, whether I say it or not. I'm sure you understand those who lead the rebellion are the most cursed of all, and they insist that you do things in a way that elevates them above all the people that serve them. I can't explain that enough. This reminds me of the scene in Shaka Zulu, the BBC series, where he says, the whites deal in illusion, Shaka. You have taught us to live in reality. He basically says, even if the whites had 100 lives each, they wouldn't be worth a single dedicated Zulu warrior, right? A single dedicated Zulu, because we are superior. Amazulu means the children of heaven, I believe. What is he getting at? Is it because their skin? No. It's because they have decided to live in illusion. If they decided to live in reality, that is the closest thing to equality, but there would be the martial art structure, which is part of why they decided to deal in illusion, and it was the BBC. This is a Western nation's own testament against themselves, mind you. He also goes on to say, if the whites offer you wings, it's because they want to make you their victim. Does the average poor white person have the power to give you spiritual wings and spiritual power to express power in this world? No. The people that do are evil. So no matter how you slice it, if a spiritual direction is coming from the white community, okay, it is because they want to make you their victim and a second-class citizen, especially if you're a martial art king. Treat them like a king, Rodney King, Martin Luther King. I'm pretty sure you get this, especially when you couple it with COINTELPRO, prevent the rise of a black messiah who will charge the black community and lead them to the promised land, which is pretty much what got King killed, his insistence that he will lead them to the promised land and his straying from his corporate controller's agenda. Could be wrong, but certainly this idea is sound. I could be wrong about Martin Luther King, right, in this regard. So when we look at the word misfit, right, it's a misfit. Why? In regards to the female, he is fit in a way that we don't want. He could be crippled, right? And he's disabled. He's undesirable. He could have a developmental disorder. They see him as undesirable. He could also be more fit than his oppressors. Therefore, he doesn't fit in any box, which goes back to boxing, fencing, karate, right? Carrot E, kung fu, king fo, and so on. It's right there in the words that these are the systems of devils. Maybe their ancestors were right with the true order of God at some point, but certainly now we see these systems run by corporate devils. Just Google Victory Martial Arts in San Jose. Victory, right? The occult V pointed downwards. Victory, vision. These are the guys who talk about your perspective. They have a certain vision. Where's your vision? Where's your submission to me? Where's your submission to God through me? And this is also why they are wrong. He who sees the Father sees the Son. He who sees the Son sees the Father. You can't see that I'm the top martial artist. You can't see my father, who is the most respectable person from his generation, in reality, not in the illusion psychological construct of rape called bitches. And you can't see God in me. That's 3 strikes. You are looking at the son of the most respectable person from his generation. Okay? You are looking at God's spiritual representative and the top martial artist. You cannot see it, and you are not being morally directed to submit. Those are 3 profoundly obvious paths that people have turned the blind eye to, that people aren't wired to detect. And this has to be a natural wiring. And if your brain is wired after I'm gone, you will see that you have ill-gotten gains and you can't connect to God on your own. When you do the wordplay with forgiveness, and I don't have time for this, or forgive, it makes it clear. Why? Right? What for? Right? Forgive. What for? So you can pretend that you're doing the right thing and take a bunch of ill-gotten gain, blood money, forged scum, No. You have to be redeemed. Repent. With true contrition means accepting your fate. And accepting your fate in hell doesn't change the fact that your fate is hell. So if they were to grow up, they would accept that they have been sentenced to hell for what they have done to people like me. There's nothing I can do about that. Even if I said that I, quote unquote, forgive, quote unquote, them. Okay? It wouldn't change anything. I even have to say it like that so they don't take me out of context. This is what they're infamous for. These are liars, deceivers. Anyway, mental health, hereditary dysfunction, and coercion for persecution. Part of the argument for mental health is people who are related to people who are mentally ill, right, have hereditary dysfunction. So if you do the right thing, your family goes down with you. Man has to reach out to God nonetheless. Why do you value life in this world? They have no answer for that.